So we're going to start in Zephaniah 1, and we're probably going to go through Haggai and maybe into Zechariah a little bit, because there's a lot between Haggai and Zechariah, and there's a lot of prophetic speech, especially in Zephaniah, right? Where we see Joshua, the high priest, which is Yeshua, with Satan standing at his right hand to resist him. That's speaking about the Messiah, right? And he's told, the angels are told to take off his filthy garments, which are all of the things that he was accused of. Not only that, but becoming sin for the entire earth, right? For all of those of Israel. And then the angels are told to give him a turban, right? Or to replace his garments, and they put on clean garments. And then it says to put a mitre on his head. A mitre is a turban. These are parts of the priestly garments that they would wear, becoming the high priest. And there's a lot of other scriptures that talk about this, even in the book of Jeremiah, right? There's another story very similar where there's an angel there talking to Jeremiah, and he's saying, woe is me. I am standing before a people with unclean lips. And the angel touches his mouth with this hot coal, and he says, I have cleansed all of your iniquity, right? And then he says, who shall we send? And Jeremiah says, send me, I will go, right? Again, all foreshadowings of the Messiah, but they're in different books. But each book is telling you the same story over and over and over again. Now, Zephaniah is, I believe, 3 chapters, if I'm not mistaken. Haggai is 2 chapters, and I believe Zechariah is 14 chapters. So I don't know if I'll go through all of Zechariah, but I just want to point out some key things here, because a lot of people are getting confused with locations and what the Father says he's going to do in the end days. Who's going to be left? Who's going to be destroyed? It's made very clear. And I know this is a topic that people don't like to talk about, but nonetheless, this is in every single prophecy, so we know that it's important. And there's some key words that if you can pick up on, you'll start understanding what's being said, and you'll start hearing Yeshua, the Messiah, speaking to the Father directly, or speaking to the 144,000, or speaking to the remnant. There's a whole story within a story that's being told here, okay? All right, yeah, I did. I got my hair cut. All right, Zephaniah 1. The word of Yahweh which came unto Zephaniah, the son of Cushai, the son of Gedaliah, the son of Amariah, the son of Hilkiah, in the days of Josiah, the son of Amon, king of Judah. Now listen very closely. I will utterly consume all things from the land, saith Yahweh. I will consume man and beast. I will consume the fowls of heaven and the fishes of the sea, and the stumbling blocks with the wicked. I will cut off man from the land, saith Yahweh. I will also stretch out my hand upon Judah and upon all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and I will cut off the remnant of Baal from this place. Now, when Yahweh is saying he's going to stretch out his hand, he's speaking of the return of the Messiah, which is his right hand. Okay? And he's saying that he's going to cut off the remnant of Baal from this place and the name of the Shephrayims. Okay? So these were idolatrous priests, idolaters, which were leading the people astray. So listen to what he's saying. I will cut off the remnant from Baal from this place and the name of the Shephrayims with the priests. Okay, so Baal priests, talking about the modern day church. And them that worship the host of heaven upon the housetops. How are people worshiping the host of heaven today? Music industry, Hollywood, you name it, sports, it doesn't matter. These demons that are here on the earth, and the fallen who are now freed, remember 70 generations they would be free, people are worshiping them in human form, and some still are worshiping the actual sun, moon, and stars. Okay, so this isn't something new. This is stuff that's going on all over the earth. All right, so he says, and them that worship the hosts, the angels of heaven upon the housetops, and them that worship and swear by the name of Yahweh, and swear by Malcolm, which is Moloch. Okay, so those that are still swearing by Moloch and offering up their children, and them that are turned back from Yahweh, and those that have sought Yahweh, have not sought for Yahweh, nor inquired of him. Hold thy peace at the presence of Yahweh, for the day of Yahweh is at hand. For Yahweh hath prepared a sacrifice, and he has bid his guests. The wedding, right? That's exactly what this is speaking about. And it shall come to pass in the day of Yahweh's sacrifice that I will punish the princes and kings. I lost my place. And children, and such are as clothed with strange apparel. Okay, listen very closely. I will punish the princes, the king's children, and such that are clothed with strange apparel. Question: if there's nothing new under the sun, who's walking around with strange apparel right now, claiming that they are the children of Israel? Verse 9. In the same day also I will punish those that leap on the threshold, speaking about the locust army, which fill their masters' houses with violence and deceit. And it shall come to pass in that day, that saith Yahweh, that there shall be a noise of a cry from the fish gate, and a howling from the second grate, and crashing from the hills. Sorry, the second gate. So, this fish gate, again, the gates are always a representation of the cities, right? Wherever the people are in their cities. But what's interesting here is if you look over at what the popes and all of those people are wearing, these are fallen gods. This is what he's talking about, the hosts of heaven. Their little fish hats and all that garbage that they wear, it's exactly what this is speaking about. Anything that's not of Yahweh is going to be destroyed. Okay, verse 11. How you inhabitants of Maktesh, which is just speaking about like a hollow valley, right? And there's a story about Maktesh as well. For the merchant people, who are the merchant people? Canaan, right? For the merchant people are cut down. All they that bear silver are cut off. And it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with candles. All right, so let's stop right here. Verse 12. And it shall come to pass at that time that I will search Jerusalem with candles. This should bring to mind, everybody should know what this is speaking about. Revelation chapter 1. Who are the 7 golden candlesticks? And are they the only candles? No. Yahweh has a whole army of them. Revelation 19. This is when the Messiah returns. So he's going to search out with candles, search Jerusalem specifically, with candles, and punish the men that are settled on their lees, that say in their heart, Yahweh will not do good, neither will he do evil. Why? Because they've forgotten about him. They don't believe he's going to return. Therefore, their goods shall become a booty, and their houses a desolation. And they shall also build houses, but not inhabit them. And they shall plant vineyards, but not drink the wine thereof. Curses of Deuteronomy 28. All right, so you're going to hear bits and pieces. No matter what prophecy you're in, the Father will say these types of things because he's referring back to the curses of not keeping the law. Let's see. The great day of Yahweh is near. It is near, and hasteth greatly. Even the voice of the day of Yahweh. The voice of the day of Yahweh. The mighty man shall cry there bitterly. The day is a day of wrath and a day of trouble and distress, a day of wasteness and desolation, a day of darkness and gloominess, a day of clouds and thick darkness. We know what this is talking about. And this again, we read about all of this in the book of Revelation. Bits and pieces of what we're reading here is what compiles the entire book of Revelation. It tells us what's going to happen. A day of the trumpet. Okay, so we know what this is speaking about. The trumpets that are going to be sounded, right? The 7 trumpets. An alarm against the fenced cities and against the high towers. Now, this high towers means exalted, right? Exalted rulers. So all of the places that are fenced cities and exalted rulers, and I will bring distress upon men. Remember, the New Testament talks about that men's hearts will fail them for the fear of the things that are to come. And they shall walk like blind men, because they have sinned against Yahweh, and their blood shall be poured out as the dust, and their flesh as the dung, blood up to the horse's bridle. Okay? Now, it's going to go into detail when we go to the next chapter. It's going to tell us in detail who he's speaking about. And this goes for Israel as well. For the people that are not coming out of the lies of the Christian church and all of the nonsense. I've seen quite a few people waking up. A lot of people that I've known for a long time that have disagreed. And again, they're not disagreeing with me. They haven't been disagreeing with me. They've been disagreeing with the word. But as the word says, Yahweh would wake up his children in due time. Which is why we have to be very careful how we talk to people and how we treat people. Because once their eyes are opened, can't go back and then you're responsible for apologizing, right? To however you're acting. We're in Zephaniah chapter 1 verse 18, the last verse. Neither shall their silver nor their gold be able to deliver them in the day of Yahweh's wrath, but the whole land shall be devoured by fire, by the fire of his jealousy. What is the fire of the Father's jealousy? The Messiah, the 144, and all of the armies of heaven. The earth is going to be destroyed a second time by fire, right? And how did he say he was going to search out? With candlesticks or with candles, angels. For he shall make even a speedy riddance of all them that dwell in the land. Okay, chapter 2. Now, this should sound very familiar. Gather yourselves together. Yea, gather together, O nation not desired. Remember, we've read this before. Gather yourself together, O daughter of troops. Same things being repeated. Gather yourselves together, O nation not desired. Before the decree, bring forth before the day pass as the chaff. Before the fierce anger of Yahweh come upon you, before the day of Yahweh's anger come upon you. Seek ye Yahweh, all you meek of the earth, which have wrought his judgment. Seek righteousness, seek meekness. And it may be that you shall be hid in the day of Yahweh's anger. Who's going to be hidden away according to Revelation 12 and all the prophets? The remnant. Why do you think Yahweh is saying this? Seek righteousness, seek meekness, and it may be that you may be found hid in the day of Yahweh's anger. But let's go back to verse 1. Gather yourselves together, yea, gather yourselves together, O nation not desired. Question, who's becoming a nation that's not desired anymore? Think about that long and hard. And I'm telling you guys, when you're watching these videos, shalom brother, it's good to see you. When you're watching these videos with BHI, now we've got the Indian people going up and down in the street, and I'm talking about Native Americans, that are in New York proclaiming that this is their land. The Messiah wasn't playing in Matthew 24 when he said nation would rise against nation, race against race. It's exactly what we're witnessing happening. And look at all of the distress that the entire planet is in right now. It's not just in one location. It's not just hurricanes in Florida. It's wildfires everywhere, flooding. It's been crazy since everybody started waking up back when COVID first started, right? So in Zephaniah 2, verse 3, he's telling you very clearly, if you seek Yahweh and you're meek and you seek his judgment and his righteousness and meekness, it may be that you shall be hid in the day of Yahweh's anger. No rapture, guys. This is a promise that Yahweh is making through his prophets, and you can't change a prophecy. Verse 4, for Gaza, listen very closely, because listen to all the key things that we're watching on the media and all of that stuff today. For Gaza shall be forsaken, and Ashkelon a desolation. Where is Ashkelon? The land of the Philistines. They shall drive out Ashdod at the noonday, and Ekron shall be rooted up. What did John the Baptist say when he saw them coming to his baptism? He said, you brood of vipers, who warned you to flee from the wrath to come? Don't think to say within yourselves, we have Abraham to our father. For surely I say unto you that Yahweh is able to raise up rocks or stones unto Abraham. But then what does he say? The axe is laid at the root of the tree. Why? Because John understood that you can't change a prophecy, and he knew the Father's word. So all of these places that some of Israel are standing out in the street with and marching up and down the street talking about these people right here, don't think that they're not going to take your life once they've taken over, and they are going to take over. Woe unto the inhabitants of the seacoast, the nation of the Shetherites. Okay, again, where are the Shetherites found? All of this is talking about Palestine, people. Just FYI. The word of Yahweh is against you, O Canaan, the land of the Philistines. Now I want to stop right here because people are arguing about where the promised land is, which it's going to tell us very clearly where it's at. How did Canaan inhabit the land of Palestine? Some of them stayed in the land of Canaan, and some of them went and dwelt in the land of Palestine, which they are currently still in. And again, if people would study this stuff, they would know and they wouldn't keep arguing. They're being misled into believing that Palestine and the little chunk of land called Israel that's in the center of that is the promised land, and it's not. I will even destroy thee. So if you're going to go into that land, what does he say? Yahweh is against you, O Canaan, the land of the Philistines, and I will even destroy thee, that there shall be no inhabitant. If he's going to destroy them so badly that there's no inhabitant, why would people flee to that land? And the seacoast shall be dwellings and cottages for shepherds and folds and flocks. For the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judah. There's going to be a remnant. Remember the two sticks becoming one, okay? And the coast shall be for the remnant of the house of Judah. They shall feed thereupon in the houses of Ashkelon, and they shall lie down in the evening, for Yahweh their Elohim shall visit them and turn away their captivity. Now, we haven't entered into tribulation yet. These people are ruling over you whether you know it or not, but they're just not oppressing you as badly as they can be, which they will be soon. Take a look at all of the replacements of your government officials all over the place. This isn't just by coincidence. This is being pushed by feminism and racism and all of these words that they love to use. People don't realize that all the things that the Father is warning about right here in Zephaniah is all the stuff that's currently happening today. It's already talking about Baal, the worship of Baal, Moloch. It's telling you the same thing over and over and over again. Verse 8, I have heard the reproach of Moab. Who cut off the children of Israel? Moab, right? I have heard the reproach of Moab and the revilings of the children of Ammon, whereupon they have reproached my people and magnified themselves to their border. Therefore, as I live, saith Yahweh of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, surely Moab shall be as Sodom, and the children of Ammon as Gomorrah. Does that sound like he's going to be patient and kind and loving and everyone's going to get into the kingdom? No, this is talking about the time of his indignation and wrath. Mainly for them, this is the time of wrath. The indignation is the first 3.5 years. That's our punishment. The second 3.5 years after the second measure of the Spirit is poured out is going to be their wrath. Even the breeding of the border, even the breeding of the nettles, nettles means weeds, right? Even the breeding of weeds and salt pits and a perpetual desolation. And the residue, the remnant of my people shall spoil them, and the remnant of my people shall possess them. This shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves against the people of Yahweh of hosts. This is why when you hear Michael or myself or anybody else teaching about this, if you are not part of Israel and you go against Israel, you will not see the new earth. If you pick that side to go against the remnant of those that are greatly hated and despised right now, verse 1, gather yourselves together, yea, gather together, O nation, not desired. It's happening today, right now. And it's happened before in the past. This shall they have for their pride, because they have reproached and magnified themselves against the people of Yahweh of hosts. Yahweh will be terrible unto them, for he will famish all of the gods of the earth, and men shall worship him, every one from his place, even all the isles of the heathen. Okay, so what did he say? He said, for he will famish all the gods of the earth. Who was this speaking about in the prior chapter? The high towers, the powerful men of the earth. Thus the reason why it says they shall ride in on the shoulders, these mighty merchants of the earth will ride in on the shoulders of the Philistines, selling Jacob out once again. Now listen to verse 12. You Ethiopians also, you shall be slain by my sword. Who is this speaking about? Are the Ethiopians still alive today? Are the Palestinian people still alive today? Is Israel still walking the earth today? If so, if your answer is yes, then you guys that are arguing about this need to go back and study what you're reading. The Ethiopians, you shall also be slain by my sword, and he will stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria, and will make Nineveh a desolation and a dry wilderness. And the flocks shall lie down in the midst of her, and all the beasts of the nations. If you don't believe us when we're talking about beasts, then you better listen very closely. He just said the Ethiopians will be slain by his sword. He will stretch out his hand, the Messiah, against the north and destroy Assyria, and will make Nineveh a desolation and a dry wilderness, and the flocks shall lie down in the midst of her, and all the beasts of the nations, both the comrat and the bittern, shall lodge in the upper lintels of their voice, shall sing in the windows, desolation shall be in the thresholds, and shall uncover their cedar work. When we were reading, remember we were reading 2nd Baruch, and it talked about the Messiah coming in with this fountain and uprooting all of the cedars? Keep this in mind. Understand what this is saying. These trees have meaning. The fruit that we bear has meaning. The mountains even have meaning, right? The seas have meaning. Everything has a deeper prophetical meaning than people think. This is the rejoicing city that dwelt carelessly. This is in Revelation. Listen very closely. This is the rejoicing city that dwelt carelessly and said in her heart, I am, and there is none beside me. This is the great whore in Revelation. Think about this for a second. She's saying in her heart, I am, and there is none beside me. And how has she become a desolation and a place for beasts to lie down in? Everyone that passeth by her shall hiss and wag his hand. Now you're going to see this all throughout the prophets, this hissing and the wagging of the hand. This simply means when they see this desolation, they're going to shake their head and be like, don't want to go in there, right? Yahweh even is saying that he's going to hiss and call for this northern army. So this, when we're reading these things, guys, this isn't just, the hiss isn't like just a snake. It's a signal, right? Everyone that's reading this needs to understand in its proper context what's being said. All right, Zephaniah 3. Woe unto her that is filthy and polluted, to the oppressing city. Again, going to Revelation. The woman that is drunken with the blood of the saints. She set herself up as a queen, right? And says that there is nobody that's going to bring her down. She obeyed not the voice. What voice? The Messiah, the Word, the Father's commandments. She received not correction. She trusted not in Yahweh. She drew not near to her Elohim. Her princes with her are roaring lions. Her judges are evening wolves that gnaw not till the bone till morrow. Her prophets are light and treacherous persons, and her priests have polluted the sanctuary. They have done violence to the law. Is there anything new under the sun? Is this a repeating story? Does Israel go into the promised land and then get kicked back out? Over and over and over again. Are we currently in Babylon? Are we currently walking through the wilderness right now, going through a sanctification process? You can either choose to be those whose carcasses fall in the wilderness, or you can choose to be the children of those whose carcasses fell in the wilderness. Caleb, Joshua, and all that went forth into the promised land. It's up to you. But this false doctrine that you're being fed to, it's being spoken about right here. Her prophets are light and treacherous persons. Why? Because they're not teaching the Torah. Her priests have polluted the sanctuary and done violence to the Torah. When you click on this word law, it means Torah, people. So we can't say that it's been done away with because it's speaking specifically about the Mosaic law. It's not Moses' law. It's the Father's law that was given to Moses to give to the people. The just Elohim is in the midst thereof, and he will not do iniquity. Every morning he bringeth his judgment to light, and he faileth not. But the unjust knoweth no shame. I have cut off the nations. Their towers are desolate. What did we just read the towers were, right? These were rulers in high places. People that are supposed to be bringing truth are not. They're bringing you lies and deceit. I made their streets waste, and none that passeth by. Their cities are destroyed, so that there is no man, and there is none inhabitant. And I said, surely thou wilt fear me, and thou wilt receive instruction, so their dwelling should not be cut off. Howsoever, I punished them, but they rose early and corrupted all of their doings. How many prophets did Yahweh have to send over and over and over again only for the people to unalive the prophets? So don't think that the Christian church is going to get out of this and just walk away. Oh no. You're falling right into the category of modern day Pharisees that are willing to probably put all of us that are speaking truth to death. You want to know why? Because you've done violence to the law. You think you're teaching the law. For those of you that are straightasthegate.net, those of you that are teaching that the Sabbath is from morning until morning, and then when you've got women that are putting you to shame, you've got the nerve to speak out against them? No. You don't get to pick and choose what parts of the law you want to keep. You either keep all of the law and understand in its context, or keep your mouth shut. Because a lot of you guys aren't showing any fruits of the Spirit whatsoever. I've got message after message of filthy mouths, people talking about things way out of context, one who claims to be John the Revelator, and a man that's teaching all of these people a bunch of lies. I said, surely thou wilt fear me. Thou wilt receive instruction, so their dwelling should not be cut off. Howsoever, I punished them, but they rose early and corrupted all their doings. No one's learning from this. No one except for those who have the ears to hear and the eyes to see. They've placed their pride aside and they're willing to learn and listen. Therefore, wait ye upon me, saith Yahweh, until the day that I rise up to the prey. For my determination is to gather the nations, What nations is he going to gather? That I may assemble the kingdoms to pour out upon them my indignation. What nations is he going to gather? All. All nations will be gathered. Some will be hidden away. Some are going to be used to correct us, and those that are used to correct us after the 3.5-year mark are going to be corrected. Therefore, wait ye upon me, saith Yahweh, until the day that I rise up to the prey, for my determination is to gather the nations, that I may assemble the kingdoms, to pour out upon them my indignation. This is the first 3.5 years. Even all my fierce anger, for all the earth shall be devoured with the fire of my jealousy. This isn't talking about some crazy weapons of mass destruction. There might be that, but it's not going to destroy the whole earth. This is talking about a heavenly fire that's going to come down. For then I will turn to the people a pure language, that they may call upon the name of Yahweh to serve him with one consent. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, this doesn't say anything about the rivers of Palestine, anything about the rivers of that land of so-called Israel. Listen very closely. From beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, my suppliants, even the daughter of my dispersed, shall bring mine offering. The 144,000 are going to bring the remnant back to the promised land, whether you like it or not. And he just told you where it's located. In that day, thou shalt not be ashamed for all thy doings, wherein thou hast transgressed against me. Transgressed what? He just told us earlier in verse 4, you have done violence to the law. For then I will take away out of the midst of thee them that rejoice in thy pride. What are you seeing right now? You're seeing flags from other countries that don't belong here, and it's all about pride. And thou shalt no more be haughty because of my holy mountain. Now, I want to stop right here. This is super, super important. In Revelation 21, what is this holy mountain described as? Yes, it's a mountain. But what is it described as in Revelation 21? What makes up New Jerusalem? Is it not the 144,000, the 24 elders, the remnant that will be there? When John looks up and sees New Jerusalem coming down out of heaven, what is that speaking about? Because if you read that entire chapter, it tells you, goes through the priesthood of the 12 stones that the priests used to wear, the 12 tribes, the walls, and the pillars that make up New Jerusalem. All of those things is prophetical speech. So if you just read through Revelation 21 and you're just thinking of some big shiny kingdom, you're missing out on the deeper part of what it's telling you. So all of the pride and all of these things that these people are doing are going to be rooted out because of what? His holy mountain. And I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and poor people. What does Scripture tell us? Satan shall wear out the saints of the Most High, right? And in this day, when he pours out the second measure of his Spirit, those that are weak and feeble will have the strength of David. Then signs, wonders, and miracles will continue. Just like the Messiah said, these things you see me do, you shall do, and greater. I will also leave in the midst of thee an afflicted and poor people, the remnant. And they shall trust in the name of Yahweh. The remnant of Israel shall not do iniquity, nor speak lies. Neither shall a deceitful tongue be found in their mouth. For they shall feed and lie down, and none, no one, zero, shall make them afraid. Sing, O daughter of Zion. Shout, O Israel. Be glad and rejoice with all of your heart, O daughter of Jerusalem. Yahweh hath taken away thy judgments, and he hath cast out thy enemy. The King of Israel, even Yahweh, is in the midst of thee. Who's the King of Israel? It's the Messiah. So how is Yahweh in the midst of us? Through his Son and his Spirit. which is only made possible by what Yeshua the Messiah did. And the people that are denying the New Testament, absolutely off their rockers. Because this book is bearing witness, even the New Testament. I don't care what people say, oh, that was added, or this was added, or this doesn't make sense. It makes perfect sense if you have the Spirit dwelling in you. It's very easy to understand. In that day it shall be said to Jerusalem, fear not, and to Zion, let thy hands be slack. No more fighting, no more worrying. Relax. This is what he's saying. Relax. Yahweh is in the midst of thee, and is mighty. He will save. He will rejoice over thee with joy, and he will rest in his love. He will joy over thee with singing. I will gather them that are sorrowful from the solemn assembly, the remnant, who are of thee, to whom the reproach of it was a burden. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee, and I will save her that halteth, and gather her that was driven out. And I will get them praise and fame in every land where they have been put to shame. Where is Israel scattered? All lands. So what is this gathering he's talking about? It's the gathering of his remnant, those that are willing to go back into covenant with the Father, keeping all of the law, not some, all, and not confusing the law with the sacrificial law. The sacrificial law was added as a punishment because we disobeyed the law of life and liberty. The Messiah did away with the sacrificial way of doing things. That was a punishment. You no longer have to do that because you can approach the throne of grace boldly because you have a high priest and mediator, Yeshua the Messiah. Behold, at that time I will undo all that afflict thee. I already read that, sorry. And I will make you a name and a praise among all the people of the earth, and I will turn back your captivity before your eyes, saith Yahweh. Question is, do we believe this? Do we actually believe what's being said here? All right, let's read Haggai chapter 1. In the 2nd year of Darius the king, in the 6th month of the 1st day of the month, the word of Yahweh came by Haggai the prophet unto Zerubbabel the son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and Joshua the son of Josedech the high priest, saying, Thus speaketh Yahweh of hosts, saying, This people say, the time is not come, and the time that Yahweh's house should be built. Then came the word of Yahweh by Haggai the prophet, saying, Is it time for you, O ye that dwell in your, I don't know what this word is, in your covered houses? And this house lie waste. So in other words, he's saying, is it time for you that dwell in your own homes to say that Yahweh's house is now a desolate waste? There's no purpose for it. Now therefore, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. You have shown much and brought little. You eat, but you have not enough. You drink, but you are not filled with drink. You clothe you, but there is none that is warm. And he that earneth wages to put it into a bag with holes. This is Haggai chapter 1. I just read verses 1 through 6. So what is he saying here? He's saying, those of you that sit in your houses and haven't considered Yahweh's house and that it should be built, which is what we've been teaching on. Let me see. I keep forgetting these names for some reason. When we did the teaching on sorry guys, my mind's still drawing blanks this morning. Nehemiah. Building up the walls of Nehemiah, right? This is what he's saying here. And then he's saying, it is time for you, O you that dwell in your covered houses, and this house lie waste. Talking about the Father's house. Now therefore, thus saith Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. You have sown much, but you bring in little. You eat, but you are not you have not enough. You drink, but you are not filled with drink. You clothe you, but you are not warm. And he that earneth wages to put them into a bag with holes. Why? Because we're in Babylon. Because we've forsaken Deuteronomy 28, the blessings of keeping the commandments, and we've replaced them with all these other things that we think are better. Christmas, Easter, Halloween, all these pagan traditions. And no one bats an eye at the fact that we should be keeping the things that Yahweh has commanded. Every single prophet, all the way up to the Messiah. Instead, we have excuses, and we have these Baal priests teaching in the church, and the Baal priests that are on here that have their private little websites and all this other stuff. Instead of just preaching the word that was already spoken, nobody's bringing a new message. Nobody has some hidden knowledge. Unless you've studied this book, there is knowledge in here that's hidden for those that are willing to study it out. But nobody's bringing forth a new message. Hebrews chapter 1 makes this very clear. In the days of old, Yahweh spoke by our fathers through the prophets. But in these last days, he has spoken through his Son. So no, there's not prophets out here bringing a new message. If you call yourself a prophet, you better be reading word for word, line for line, what has already been spoken. That's prophesying. In this day and age, that's prophesying. Nobody's getting dreams and being told that something new is going to happen or something's going to change. And why is he saying, you have sown, but you bring in little. You have eaten, but you're not full. You drink, but you're not filled with drink. You clothe yourselves, but you're not warm. And you have earned wages, but only to put your wages in a bag with holes in it. Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, consider your ways. It's the second time he said it now. Go up to the mountain and bring wood and build the houses, and I will take pleasure in it. And it will be glorified, saith Yahweh. You looked for much, and lo, it came with little. And when you brought it home, when you brought it home, I did blow upon it. Why, saith Yahweh of hosts? Because of my house that is waste, and you run every man unto his own house. Therefore, the heaven over you is stayed from dew. What is the dew? The Torah. Deuteronomy 32, the Song of Moses. When it's talking about the dew, the heaven over you is stayed from dew, doctrine, the word. And the earth is stayed from her fruit. If you don't have the word, how are you going to have fruit? And I have called for a drought upon the land, and upon the mountains, and upon the corn, and upon the new wine, doctrine. And upon the oil. What is the oil? The Torah. Remember, the 10 virgins, the 5 foolish and the 5 wise, they have their lamps. 5 wise have the Torah. Their lamps are trimmed. The other 5 are foolish, and they're asking, let us borrow some of your knowledge. And they say, no. You had your time. We've been warning you. We're going to keep our knowledge so that we can enter in through the door. You go buy your own knowledge. You go figure it out now after years of us telling you the same thing over and over again. And upon that which is in the ground bringeth forth, and and upon men, and upon cattle, and upon the labor of the hands. So these people are struggling quite a bit, right? Then Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, and Joshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest, with all the remnant of the people. Notice there's a remnant here. With all the remnant of the people obeyed the voice, Yeshua, of Yahweh, their Elohim, and the words of Haggai the prophet, as Yahweh their Elohim had sent him. And the people did fear before Yahweh. Then spake Haggai, Yahweh's messenger, and Yahweh's message unto the people, saying, I am with you, saith Yahweh. And Yahweh stirred up the spirit of Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and the spirit of Joshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest, and the spirit of the remnant of the people. This is going to happen again. The second measure of the Spirit. People are going to be stirred up in this measure of the Spirit. And they came and did work in the house of Yahweh of hosts, their Elohim. And in the 24th day and 6th month in the 2nd year of Darius the king. Now, why am I reading Haggai? Because as we go into Zechariah, did we just read Zephaniah? Zechariah. It's a long book, right? I'm going to take a break before we go into that. It's a long book, but it's going to start giving you prophecy after prophecy after prophecy. It's telling you who Zerubbabel is in Haggai. It's telling you he was a governor of Judah who freed the captives. But it's also going to talk about who's going to lay the foundation of Yahweh's house, because they've neglected Yahweh's house here in Haggai, right? They've all built up their homes and their houses, just like as in the days of Noah, eating and drinking and marrying, rejecting the house of Yahweh. So who did Yahweh send? His son. And notice how it says in these books, Joshua the high priest. How did they translate Joshua properly in the Old Testament? But when it comes to the Messiah's name, they translated it to Jesus Christ. Or Jesus. Jesus. Haggai chapter 2. In the 7th month, in the 21st day of the month, came the word of Yahweh by the prophet Haggai, saying, Speak now to Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, governor of Judah, and to Joshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest, and to the residue of the people, saying, Who is left among you that saw this house in her first glory? Speaking about the Father's house. Why is there a remnant? Because these people were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and Yahweh left them alive. And he's asking them, that's left among them, have you seen this house, my house, in her first glory? And how do you see it now? Is it not in your eyes in comparison of it as nothing? Yet now be strong, O Zerubbabel, saith Yahweh, and be strong, O Joshua, son of Josedek, the high priest, and be strong, all of you people of the land, saith Yahweh, and work, for I am with you, saith Yahweh of hosts, according to the word that I covenanted with you when you came out of Egypt. What word did he make a covenant with them when they came out of Egypt? And who do you think this is speaking about? Zerubbabel, the son of Shealtiel, the governor of Judah, the Messiah. Joshua, the son of Josedek, the high priest. All right, so he's telling them now, build the walls. Let's see, where was I? For thus saith Yahweh of hosts, yet once it is a little while, and I will shake the heavens and the earth and the sea and the dry land, and I will shake all the nations, and the desire of the nations shall come. Remember, there are vessels that are fit for destruction, and there are vessels, whoever keeps posting a bunch of stuff, guys, please stop spamming. I'm sorry, man, you're going to have to be muted for a little while. I'm trying to teach. I can't have you in here spamming the crap out of everything. Just listen. All right. So he's talking to the remnant, right? And he's saying that he's going to do accordingly to the covenant that he made with them when they came out of Egypt, right? So my spirit remaineth among you. Fear not, for thus saith Yahweh of hosts. Yet once it is a little while, and I will shake the heavens and the earth. So he's going to do all of this, right? We know what this is speaking about. The glory of this latter house shall be greater than of the former, saith Yahweh of hosts. And this place I will give peace, saith Yahweh of hosts. What is he talking about? What is he talking about? The former house, which was made out of hands, the second house is going to be a temple not built by hands. It's a people chosen by the Father. And he's telling you the former house, the latter house is going to be much more glorious, right? In the 24th day in the 9th month in the 2nd year of Darius came the word of Yahweh by Haggai the prophet, saying, Thus saith Yahweh of hosts, Ask now the priest concerning the law, saying, If one bear holy flesh in the skirt of his garment, and his skirt doeth touch bread or pottage or wine or oil, and any meat, shall it be holy? And the priest answered and said, No. Okay, so this is according to the Torah. They're answering correctly. Then Haggai said, If one that is unclean by dead toucheth any of these, shall it be unclean? And the priest answered, It shall be unclean. So they're answering correctly. Then answered, did I read that? Yeah. Then answered Haggai and said, So is this people. What is he saying? The people are unclean. And so is this nation before me, saith Yahweh. And so is every work of their hands. And that which they offer there is unclean. And now I pray you, consider from this day upward, from before the stone that was laid upon stone in the temple of Yahweh, since those days where one came to a heap and 20 measures, there were but 10. So he's saying, when they were expecting 20 measures, there were only 10. When there came a press fat for the draw out of 50 vessels out of the press, there were but 20. I smote you with blasting and with mildew. Now, this mildew is paleness, right? Lividness. And the blasting, right, is just a blighting of the crops. And with hail in all the labors of your hands, yet you turned not to me, saith Yahweh. Consider now from this day upward, from the 24th day of the 9th month, even from that day that the foundation of Yahweh's temple was laid, consider it. What is he saying? There was a temple that was built and it was supposed to be holy. The people weren't doing what they were supposed to be doing. So they're falling under the curses of Deuteronomy 28. This is why he's mentioning this. He's saying you're laying corn and your measures when you go to collect your corn and your vessels that are supposed to be bringing in. They're guessing 50 that they were supposed to get out of the press, only brought in 20. And then he's saying, I smote you with blasting and mildew and hail and all the labors of your hands, the curses of Deuteronomy 28. And you still turned not to me, saith Yahweh. Consider now from this day upward, right? He's saying, consider all of these things. Even from the day that the foundation of Yahweh's temple was laid, consider it. Is the seed yet in the barn? What seed is going to be gathered into the barn? Yea, as yet the vine and the fig tree and the pomegranate and the olive tree hath not brought forth, from this day will I bless you. If what? If they don't do violence to the law. And again, the word of Yahweh came unto Haggai in the 24th day of the month, saying, Speak to Zerubbabel, governor of Judah, saying, I will shake the heavens and the earth, and I will overthrow the throne of the kingdoms, and I will destroy the strength of the kingdoms of the heathen. If they do what? Stop doing violence to the law. And I will overthrow the chariots and those that ride on them. Who's coming in chariots? Joel chapter 2, Revelation chapter 9, the northern army. And them that ride on them, and the horses and their riders shall come down, every one by the sword of his brother. Confusion. Yahweh always causes confusion amongst evil. They'll start turning on one another. Blood up to the horse's bridle. Remember, we just read this in the first book that we are reading. Now we're in Haggai, 2 chapters, I believe. In that day, in what day? The day when he does all of these things, saith Yahweh of hosts, will I take thee, O Zerubbabel, my servant. How is Yahweh going to take Zerubbabel, the governor of Judah, in the latter days? He's not. It's a prophecy. He's using Zerubbabel's story as an example of what he's going to do with Yeshua the Messiah. In that day, saith Yahweh of hosts, I will take thee, O Zerubbabel, my servant, the son of Shealtiel. Okay, now, again, you guys can look up these, the meanings of these names and all of that, it'll help bring a lot more sense. This name, Shealtiel, means I have asked of Yahweh. But he was also the son of Jehoiakim, right? Jehoiakim. My servant, the son of Shealtiel, saith Yahweh, and I will make thee as a signet. Okay, so this signet is as a seal or a ring. For I have chosen thee, saith Yahweh of hosts. Now, it's interesting how Haggai goes directly into Zechariah. Okay, that's why I started off with Zephaniah. Zephaniah was explaining everything that we've already read. And as we go into Zechariah chapter 1 and forward, you're going to see quite a bit here. I'm going to read a little bit into it before I take a break because I don't want to overdo my voice and not be able to do anything at all. Now, I want people to remember Revelation chapter 6, the 4 horsemen. Remember that? They're being explained in the book of Zechariah very clearly. And it's not just in chapter 1. It's going to go throughout many chapters. In fact, I want to end this, and I want to upload the first 2 books that we just read. Or I want to end this so I can upload that. And then I'm going to come back on, and we're going to start reading about these horses. The red horses, the black horses, the white horses, and the speckled horses or the green horses. And what they do, and how the Father sends them out into the earth. And how this prophecy of Zerubbabel, which we just read about in Haggai, how this prophecy is pertaining to Yeshua the Messiah. And not only that, but how deep the book of Zechariah goes. Right? And this is the same with every prophecy. And my intention is to point out these key things that you need to be picking up on in every single prophecy, because it's the same story over and over and over again. So let me grab something to eat really quickly while this is uploading so that I can upload it to YouTube, because people are going to want to watch this, I'm sure, especially Zechariah. As we go through Zechariah, it's going to talk about the 2 prophets. It's going to talk about the Messiah and how he becomes anointed, and then how he holds now and commands those 7 archangels, how he returns with those archangels, Revelation chapter 19, with the 144 that are called up to the throne mid-tribulation, so on and so forth. And this is just one prophecy, guys. This is just one of the prophets of many that were unalived for their faith, and because they were sent forth by Yahweh saying, preach to these people the truth. And guess what happened? They were all unalived. So understand what's going to happen to those of us that are doing this. The earth and those nations that are being spoken about, that Yahweh just said he was going to do away with. All of Ethiopia, all of Canaanites, all of the Palestinians. Vessels that are fit for destruction and vessels that are fit for honor. Paul speaks about this in Romans 9. I've heard people read Romans 9 and they butcher it because they don't understand. Paul is only teaching from the law and the prophets. Paul did not have the New Testament. The New Testament was not written when Paul was walking the earth, and he wasn't teaching from his own letters, people. Paul was teaching, and we read it in the book of Acts. When the noble Bereans came to him, he taught them not only about who Yeshua was, but also the Father's law out of the law and the prophets. That's what this book says. From morning until evening, he reasoned with them out of the law and the prophets. And he taught them about Yeshua out of the law and the prophets, who Yeshua was. It's very simple. When you go through the book of Hebrews, you should be hearing your high priest and mediator, which is what we're about to read, the one that's anointed with priestly garments. You should be hearing those words all throughout the book of Hebrews. But don't read Hebrews and stop in one chapter. Read the entire book and think about the Messiah becoming this new priest and the sacrificial law being done away by him and him taking on flesh to come down here and undo what Satan started. There's a purpose and a reason for why Yeshua did it, and not the Father. The Father sent Yeshua. The Messiah takes on the embodiment of the spoken word of his Father, which is the Torah. Very, very simple to understand. The whole New Testament makes a whole lot more sense when you understand all of the book. And I'm not even going to get into all of the books that they've removed and whether or not they're scripture. I see people on here that are going against the book of Enoch and none of them have any knowledge of the book of Enoch. They're telling people, well, the 66 book canon is the inspired word of Yahweh. How do you know that? Show me a verse in the 66 book canon that says only these 66 books are inspired by the Father. Those are assumptions, and we don't operate on assumptions. We operate based on the knowledge that's in a book. If we're going to study a book, it better align with what all of these prophets are saying, or it's not scripture. If the book of Enoch predates the 66 book canon and Enoch spoke about everything that these prophets are speaking about long before they wrote it, who are you to say the book of Enoch isn't scripture? It shows that you lack knowledge in prophecy. It shows you don't understand the law. Now, even seeing people saying that, oh, well, when Yeshua returns, it's not actually going to be as bad as he says it's going to be. Yes, it is. It's going to be exactly what Yahweh is saying it's going to be. Destruction of nations, nation rising against nation, kingdom against kingdom, famines, earthquakes, all these things. The earth is going to be perplexed. Men's hearts will fail them because of the things that they're going to see. So how are we changing the word and saying that there aren't books that are scripture when we haven't studied them and we don't know what we're talking about? Again, I've studied the book of Enoch. Some of you people are confusing 3rd Enoch, which is the story of Metatron, which is a satanically inspired book that has nothing to do with the book that was found with the Dead Sea Scrolls. Nothing at all. So please be careful. You're leading people away by your lack of knowledge, by your lack of understanding these books. And then arguing with Yah-fearing men who have studied them is not wise. It's just not. And you can have your opinions on whether or not women should be teaching and all of that. Listen, I have no problem with women sharing the gospel. If women are sharing the gospel, that's fantastic. I've seen women walk circles around these Baal priests that are teaching. Yah-fearing women. But they also know not to go up to a brother that has studied for years and years and years and has been given understanding and argue with them. You're going against the Godhead, which is the order in which Yahweh created things. It's the Father over the Messiah, Messiah over man, man over woman, woman over child. It doesn't say the Messiah over man, man over wife, wife over her children. There's an order there. If we were back in the days of the Levitical priesthood, you wouldn't be arguing with a Levitical priest, would you? Regardless if he was your husband or not, you wouldn't be arguing with him. You would be silent, because the husband would make you be silent if he feared the Father in any way. There's a lot of excuses, a lot of stuff I hear people trying to stretch, trying to give them a reason or some way around Yahweh's word, and it's not going to turn out well for you. If you guys don't start listening or at least studying for yourself before you make these statements, you're going to be responsible for other people's blood on your hands, because a lot of these books are most certainly inspired by the word of the Most High. People don't want to believe that, but they haven't studied it. So with that, let me end this. Let me grab something to eat really quickly, and then we'll come back on and we'll go through Zechariah and see how far we can get. Zechariah is not a very long book, but there's a lot in here that I want people to understand, and this book is super, super deep, as all of the prophets are. And I don't want to try to tackle something like Jeremiah or Isaiah or anything like that today with my throat being sore. And even if I did that, it would have to be in parts, because you've got the 12 major prophets. Those 12 major prophets are packed. And it's literally, if you guys have seen the chart where the cross references from New Testament to Old Testament, how many there are, it's mind-blowing. And I don't even believe that's accurate. There's much more than that. But again, it just proves that people are not understanding. They get to a place in their understanding, and then they cut their own selves off because they do this. They don't want to hear any other thing. They want to stick to whatever it is they feel like they're correct about, and none of them have been able to back up what they're saying with 2 or 3 witnesses, which is what the scripture tells us to do. This is how we know if the scribe of the lying pen is at work. If we find a prophecy that is speaking contrary to the rest of the prophets, we know something's been altered. That's why the Father warns us 7 times about them. So if we're not going to follow that, we're going to be lost very quickly. And you will fall over the stumbling stone, which is the Messiah. Or it could be Paul, which again, Paul was called by Yeshua to go to the Gentiles and to teach the Gentiles, right? So we have to make sure everything aligns. Paul is teaching from prophecy nonstop, and we have showed this over and over and over again, and people still want to go by what they think these Baal priests, which we just read about in here, how they're doing violence to the law, how they're not teaching the law, how they're teaching ear-tickling messages, which is dangerous. So with that, I'm going to end this. Give me about, what time is it? 11. I'll be back on around 11:15, 11:20. So 15, 20 minutes. All right, so I'm going to end this now. Shalom, guys.